take you with them on a bus or train, on a highway or on a plane, backstage or on a bike. It's Kevin Klein's Fuzzy Mike.
Imagine giving up 4 years of your life, training day in and day out to reach the place where you've already been. You want to get back there 20 years later. What are we talking about? We're talking about being an Olympian. Not only an Olympian, an Olympic champion. In 2000 at the Sydney Games, Laura Wilkinson came from 9th place to win the gold medal for the United States of America in the 10-meter platform diving.
Is it going to be good enough to get the gold medal? Laura Wilkinson, in one of the most improbable diving competitions in Olympic history, has just won Olympic gold.
She retired in 2009. Here she is now in 2020 trying to make the U.S. Olympic team again. However, COVID-19 has thrown a wrench into that plan because the Olympics have been postponed until 2021. So now instead of 4 years, it's 5 years giving up your life, training for this dream. We are joined by 2000 U.S. Olympian Laura Wilkinson.
Hello?
Hello, is this Laura?
Yes, it is. How are you?
I'm wonderful, Laura. How's the connection? Does it sound okay?
Yeah. Can you hear me okay?
Oh, I can hear you perfectly, yeah.
Awesome.
So before we jump into things, let me just quickly say hopesports.org is where you can listen to your podcast. It is amazing. Talk to me about how that came about.
Well, actually, I had been on a couple of Hope Sports builds. They gather Olympians and professional athletes to come together and build homes for the poor in Mexico, and I loved it. And I started getting on Guy's advisory board for Hope Sports, and they developed into this. They wanted to do a podcast, so I offered to host it, and that was a lot of fun. And they've kind of put the hold on that now, and I'm actually starting my own called The Pursuit of Gold coming up here pretty soon.
So when will that be? When will that be ready to go?
Well, we were shooting for May 5th, but we may push it back just a little bit since we don't have the rush of trials in the Olympics now. So it'll be either like end of May or early June.
Quite amazing that we are talking to Olympic gold medalist Laura Wilkinson, and we have not talked. We're opening up talking about podcasts, but let's talk about how COVID-19 has just kind of ruined things for you right now.
Yeah, well, I think it's kind of done that across the board, as hard as things seem, at least that's some common denominator that we have with everyone across the world. We finally have this one thing that we can all relate to, right? So, there's kind of a beauty in that in the middle of all of this just tragedy and craziness. So it definitely put plans on hold for the Olympics. That was kind of crazy. I was actually at a meet when all the NCAAs were getting canceled, and we started hearing all these rumors of the World Cups getting canceled and everything coming up. And then it was just all the uncertainty was what I think was hardest. When they finally made the announcement that they were going to postpone the games, we were almost relieved. Okay, it's not canceled. It's just postponed. We can deal with that. And now we have a plan. We can kind of create a new plan going forward. So it stinks, but it's, I'm glad we're keeping the world safe. And that's obviously number one priority.
Well, not only has it canceled right now, postponed the Olympics to 2021, you had a book that was slated to come out in a week or two, and that's been pushed back.
Yeah, just a little bit. It'll still come out probably early summer. So it's all still going forward. Everything just slowed down a little bit.
Being familiar with your Facebook page, being familiar with LauraWilkinson.com, I know that you are very, very faith-based and you're a very positive person. So I guess the way to look at this COVID-19 distraction is that it gives you a little more time to train.
Yes, it does. And it's funny, being a 42-year-old mom of 4, you wouldn't think time would be something that I would like more of in my sport. But for me, it's a gift. I had to come back last year from a 2-level cervical fusion. And so I spent all of 2019 recovering from that. I used an Orthofix stimulator device for, my bone fusion to heal better. So I was actually able to get back in the water, but not until this past December. So I just started competing again in February. And so I was kind of in a mad rush to slide into home plate, at the Olympic trials. And so having an extra year feels like a gift to me now that I can take my time. I can do more numbers and get confident again and just do that thing I love to do one more year.
Yeah, but Laura Wilkinson, 2000 gold medalist at the Sydney Olympic Games. You won that competition with a broken foot. Diving with injury is no big deal to you.
I like a good challenge.
Apparently so. Take us through all the injuries that you've had, and especially talk to us about 2000, because that was an impressive performance.
Well, thank you. Yeah, that was probably the most notable one. I actually broke my foot in 3 places just 3 months before our Olympic trials. I was just doing kind of a normal dry land training where we do somersaults or flips onto mats, and we happened to be going off of a block of wood, and I came out of one somersault a little too early, and I hit both of the balls of my feet on that wooden block and had a stress fracture in my left foot and completely broke 3 metatarsals in my right. And actually, one of those metatarsals slid underneath my foot. And the emergency room doctor there in Fort Lauderdale never x-rayed it, told me it would hurt more if it was broken, it would be more swollen. So he just gave me crutches, and my coach and I were, hoping, well, maybe it's not that bad. And it wasn't until almost a week later I got home and my doctor x-rayed it. Came into the room in tears, telling me what happened. I had completely broken 3 bones. We were going to have to re-break it, pin it all back together, all this stuff. But, with 3 months, like that would have put me out of Olympic trials. And so we decided to cast it the way it was and hope that it would heal well enough to walk on and maybe jump off of. But that was casting it with one bone lodged underneath the ball of my foot. And that's what you walk on. That's what you push off of. That's what you put all your weight on when you're on the end of the platform. So it was, not really the news that you want delivered just a few months before your dream. It could be your only opportunity at the Olympic Games. But in hindsight now, like seeing what that did for me, it forced me out of the water. It forced me into more mental type training and video study and modeling my dives and just taking this whole different approach to it. And I only had 2 weeks in the water before the Olympic trials, but it was like my head was in the game and I was ready. And I ended up winning trials by 40 points. And I went on to win a gold at the Olympic Games that year. And I think if I hadn't have broken my foot, I probably would have made the team, but there's no way I would have stood on top of the podium. I mean, I needed that mental training. And so I think that breaking of my foot was a gift. And now I've really learned through that every time I face an obstacle, like there's an opportunity in it, but you have to be willing to push through it to find that. I mean, in 2005, before I won my first world championships, I had a botched surgery on my wrist and I was in excruciating pain leading into that for 6 months. And I could barely get some numbers off, but it made me really focus on quality, and every single, dive that I got to do had to be great because it may have been my last one in the practice. And so it's always been an opportunity. It's always been a gift, I think, when you go through something like that, because it can force you to do something you might not otherwise do.
So would it be too inside information to tell me what kind of mental visualization you were doing that got you to the platform and gold medal?
No. So one thing that we did is my coach would hold my crutches and I would actually hop up on my one good foot, like up to the 10 meter, and I would stand up on the 10 meter and go through all the actions of my dives, just kind of like standing there, doing all the arm swings. And my coach would coach me from the pool deck. And I had to like feel all the things, you want to see what you're going to see. You want to smell the smells. You want to, as many senses as you can use in your visualization, like helps you that much more. It becomes more real. We would put ourselves in meet scenarios, diving against certain people that I knew were going to be there, like all those different things. I studied video all the time, like put my dives that I was going to do the best I had done them in competition. I put them in an order I was going to compete them, and I would watch them over and over again until they were like burned into my brain. I studied my competitors. Everything that you could think to do, like we did that for sure.
You're 10 meters up. Okay. You get to the edge of the platform. How do you collect yourself? What is the process?
Well, you don't want to overthink things. Like overthinking and fear are like the two biggest issues in my sport. And so you want to do your thinking before you step to the end. Like you want to kind of do it when you're back on the platform waiting for your turn. And really you want to focus on like 1 or 2 corrections or actions that you want to do. If you think about any more, the dive itself lasts like 2 seconds. So you don't have a lot of time to think. So if there's too much in your brain, you're not going to get it all done. So you want to focus on 1 or 2 things you want to make sure happen. And then by the time you walk to the end, you got to let it go. And you almost have to like dive dumb, and just let everything go out of your brain and let your body take over.
So it's basically muscle memory. You've done this so much, so often that it just becomes second nature.
A little bit, yeah.
When you miss a dive, how does that feel?
Not great.
Is that what causes the wrist injuries and the foot injuries?
Yeah, well, and that's my wrist injury was just over time, just over years of impacts. Because everybody thinks the water's so soft. It's not that bad.
No.
But when you hit it 35 miles an hour, it feels like a brick wall. So it definitely plays a role. Why my wrist was injured. That's why I had neck issues. So yeah, it definitely takes a toll on your body.
I'm fascinated by the way that judges are able to judge, but I know enough to know that if you don't create a splash, then that's a really good dive.
Yes, no splash is the best, for sure.
So,
that's the last thing you see, so that's definitely important.
So how do you not create a splash when you're going 35 miles an hour from 10 meters up?
Well, we have superhero powers, and that's really how we do it.
I figured that's what it was.
There's a technique. There's a certain way that you grab your hands one over top of the other, and you have to be really locked out, like shoulders extended, everything, and you're almost like punching through the water, and there's kind of a timing of how you almost do a somersault underneath the water to like pull the splash down with you. too.
Really? So the dive doesn't end when you hit the water. The dive actually continues underneath.
Very well said. Yeah, they stop judging once you're under the water, but a lot happens under the water to make sure that entry is really, really nice.
Now, you said that the dive takes about 2 seconds, okay? You're doing 2.5 backflip with a half body twist and all this kind of stuff in a pike position and a herky jump at the end. How can judges really see that?
Well, most of the judges were divers themselves or have coached for a long time, so they know the sport really well. And after, I mean, if you watch it a while, you kind of start to catch on and you understand. And they don't. It's not as technical as gymnastics where they're taking off a tenth for this and a tenth for this. It's really more of they judge it on, is it good, is it very good, is it excellent. There's kind of chunks like that, and then from there, if it's excellent, it's in the 8 to 10 range. And from there, they'll say, okay, did I see flat feet, or did I see a split tuck, or any twists on the bottom? That then they take an additional like half point or a point off for.
So they're literally watching this in real time. They don't go back and watch a replay in slow motion and stuff like that?
Nope, just real time.
Wow. Wow, that's impressive eyesight and impressive knowledge of what they should be looking for. That's crazy cool.
It is really cool. And they've actually done a really good job creating a whole judging school now to make sure that it's fair and no countries are, giving certain countries benefits. Like they've done a really good job on making the process as fair as possible.
We are talking to 3-time U.S. Olympian and 2000 Olympic gold medalist Laura Wilkinson, 42 years of age. You got away from the sport for about 9 years, 4 children, came back. What's a typical training day for you with 4 children?
Well, my husband is awesome and he helps me a lot. He's a swim coach as well, so he kind of understands, and he was a swimmer in college, so he totally gets what I'm doing. And we kind of juggle a lot, like he'll go in and do the early morning practices with his team, then he comes back and I'll get the kids ready and take them to school. Then I go to practice, he'll come back, he'll pick up our little one from preschool and then the bigger ones from elementary school, and I'm kind of training in and out of the day and doing all my recovery stuff. So it's a lot of juggling. And right now, since we're home with all the COVID stuff going on, it's kind of been fun to train at home and my kids actually get to see me doing it, because before they were like, Mom, why are you always leaving? Why are you always going to diving? Can't you just stay here? And now I'm doing all of it here, and they see how much work it takes, and how hard I'm sweating and that I'm going really hard and I'm going all day long, and they're out there with me and they play with me. They try to jump into the exercises and they'll tell me, good job, Mom, good job. And they'll try to coach my somersaults. So it's been really fun to kind of do it with them watching. And I hope that kind of leaves a lasting impression.
Well, I saw that actually it was just yesterday that you were practicing some tucks and then kickouts in your living room there, and the kiddos were giggling at the ones that you missed, but then you knew you were hitting when they started clapping and going, "Ooh, that's good, Mom." So it's kind of like you have your own U.S. and Ethiopian judges there.
I sure do. I have the international judging squad on my side, but yeah, it's great because they just think it's funny when I fall down. But what I hope they're seeing is that I had to try 30 or 40 times to finally get this thing back and get this technique, going right. And so what I hope they're learning is everything doesn't come in an instant. The first time you try stuff, it's not going to be perfect, but that doesn't mean you quit or you stop or you give up. You've got to keep trying and failing in order to learn how to do it the right way.
And this is especially a difficult move for you because of your neck surgery. They actually fused your vertebrae together, so you're actually still building strength, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Yeah, that's the first time I'd actually done, because it's you do a headstand and your legs are in a tuck and you kick straight out, and it's like a kick out drill of how we would come out of our dives. And I haven't tried that since before my surgery because I was just scared. I can dive off 10 meter, but it's just everything makes me a little nervous the first time. But I was like, I feel good, I'm strong. Why not try it now? So that's what I decided to do. And by the end of my little session, I finally got it back. So that was kind of fun.
Was there any hesitation on your part after you had the surgery about going back to diving?
Well, initially when the surgeon told me, when we found out I was probably going to need this, I was scared I was going to have to make a decision, have this major surgery in order to dive, or don't have it and retire and just be mom. But what he told me was, you have to have this just to be a mom, just to live an everyday life, because if you have a minor accident, it could have catastrophic results, like paralysis and things like that. So it was really bad. And so as scary as that was, it kind of took the decision out of my hands, and I think was a blessing that way, and gave me the opportunity to dive if I wanted to try that. And so as soon as I got the all clear at 12 weeks to try, I was still pretty stiff, and I was definitely nervous, but it was uncomfortable a little bit at first, but it wasn't bad. And I knew, he kept telling me, all your x-rays, you look solid, everything looks great, all the equipment in there is holding up fine. So I trusted him. I trusted what he put inside my body, all the Orthofix products, and I just kept going, and it's held up. It's held up great.
Was there anybody that tried to talk you out of it?
Probably, and I think I probably just didn't listen. I don't know anybody else who's done. I know a couple of divers that have come back to springboard since having some kind of back or neck fusion, but I've never known anyone to do platform. So it's all kind of new, and that's what's a little scary when you're kind of blazing a trail that way. And I'm already, a little mature for a diving athlete, so there's that concern too. So it's we're just trying to be really, really smart, and I'm trying to recover well to make sure I take care of my body.
To be a great diver, what parts of the body need to be strongest?
Definitely shoulders and your wrists, because they take the brunt, especially on platform, but also like lower backs, because we do a lot of flipping like gymnastics where you're torquing your body to get into those positions on the start. So yeah, shoulders, wrists, back. And if you're springboard diver, probably knees too, because you have to move the board down. And so your knees and your quads take like the brunt of that load.
And you talk about gymnastics. You were actually a gymnast before you became a diver, and you actually outgrew gymnastics. So that's kind of what forced you into diving, if I'm not mistaken?
Yeah, I mean, sort of. I definitely went through a growth spurt, and I had gotten really sick going into like 8th grade. And when I came back, my heart just wasn't in it anymore. And I kind of knew, like, I wanted to be Mary Lou Retton. I wanted to be what kids would dream now, Simone Biles, and I just realized that I should have been a lot better than what I currently was at that age in order to do that. And so I kind of thought, I love the sport, but I just want to find something that I could go to the Olympics in. Like, that's what my dream was, more for the Olympics than just gymnastics, is what I discovered. And so I kept tumbling and I kept playing around because I loved it, but I kept trying other sports until I finally found diving, which was essentially gymnastics into the pool. So I just felt like home to me. It was a perfect fit.
So you say you wanted to be like Mary Lou Retton and Simone Biles. Laura Wilkinson, you're an Olympic gold medalist, just in a different sport.
Well, thank you. That's kind of cool to hear.
There aren't a lot of people walking around saying, "Hey, man, I got an Olympic gold medal." Do you display it, or is it hidden somewhere in your house?
I keep it in a little case in my house because I want to be able to take it out, and take it to events with me so people can see it and touch it. And, I don't want to keep it in a lockbox or anything like that. I want people to be able to see it, because I remember the first time I ever saw one, because I was a big dreamer. And my freshman year in college at University of Texas, Josh Davis was a swimmer there, and he had just gone to Atlanta, and he won 3 gold medals in swimming. And he brought them to the pool for us to see and to touch, and I couldn't believe this. Like, you see it on TV, but to see an actual person holding them right in front of you, it just kind of dawned on me that, like, wow, okay, real people do this. Like, this stuff really happens. So why can't I do this? And so I think that just really drove me and gave me that determination and that confidence of, like, okay, I can do this too. So I hope, by bringing my medal out and showing it to people and letting them see that same thing and feel those same feelings, that maybe it'll drive them to go on and do something amazing.
Well, I want to ask the geeky fanboy questions here in just a minute, but you just talked about having the dream and realizing, that, hey, I can do that too. That wasn't necessarily apparent when your high school diving teacher said you were a waste of space. How do you get over that? Or do you use that as fuel like the great ones do?
Yeah, both. I mean, it definitely still makes me mad. So it was definitely fuel. And, the great thing is I had a great club coach, who is still my coach, Kenny Armstrong. And he told me back then, he's like, you don't need high school diving. We can take you to the next level. If you want to go to the Olympics, you need to focus on like nationals anyway. You need to be at a much higher level. And so he was always encouraging and always believed that if I had these dreams, as long as I worked hard toward them, I could get there. And so I think having one person believe in you when maybe the rest of the world doesn't can really make a big difference.
Oh, yeah. That's all it takes, is just one person to tell you, you know what, you can do this. For sure. You and I have kind of a similar situation where somebody told me that I'd never make it in my career, and I use it as motivation. That's all I do.
Yeah.
And the same with Michael Jordan. Michael Jordan got cut from his high school team for the junior varsity his sophomore year, and well, look what he used that to fuel himself for.
Exactly.
Yeah, for sure. Okay.
Did you just compare me to Michael Jordan?
I have, yes.
I mean, that's really cool. Thank you.
Well, he's an Olympic gold medalist, just like yourself.
Awesome.
Is the gold medal heavy?
It's heavier than you would think. Yeah.
Is it made of gold?
It is made of silver, but it's plated in gold. They actually used to do solid gold until only 1904 or 1908. Because I guess it got too expensive.
Way expensive. Yeah. What is the feeling like standing on top of the podium after coming from 9th place to win the Olympic gold medal and represent your country?
I mean, it's just surreal. You dream of that moment. I'm really glad we have it on video because Otherwise, I would think it was just another dream. Like, because it happens so fast too. I mean, you're up there. They put the medal around your neck. I was always wondered if I would sing the anthem or not if I ever stood up there. But I was so busy looking for where my parents and my family were in the stands that I didn't even realize they'd started playing the national anthem. And so I just stood there and enjoyed it and soaked it in. And I mean, like the snap of a fingers, it was over. And it's like, wow, I worked so long and so hard. I went through so much for that moment that lasted like less than 2 minutes. You know what I mean? So I think it makes you realize that as cool as that is, and that should be our goal, and that helps us get to these phenomenal places, it's really that journey and getting there that's what you take with you. That's where the memories really are. That's what makes you who you are.
So then with given this extra year of training and instead of 4 years having a fifth year before the 2021 Olympics, is it going to be that much more special when you get back up on that podium?
Oh yeah, it's going to be sweet.
And how quickly after the competition do you get your medal?
Pretty quick. I mean, I remember we went back and I think changed into sweats and stuff. So it was probably within 10 minutes, 15 minutes, something like that.
So the red in your eyes might have been chlorine.
Of course. No, onions. There were definitely onions.
How come after a dive, divers will go and sit in a little wading pool?
It's cold. It's so cold in there. Like, because there's 17,000 people in the stands, so they crank the air down. And when you're wet, you're freezing. And the pool water is not always warm. And so they always have a hot tub or showers or something where we can warm up and keep your muscles loose. Because if your muscles get cold and they start to get tight, you can't swing your arms, you can't jump as well, all that kind of stuff.
And I saw just the other day you did a chamois tutorial that that's what keeps you dry up on top. It also warms you up. But then you try and hit your competitors below.
Well, only if you're really mean. But, sometimes we accidentally target practice our teammates. But, in 2000, I had to wear a shoe, too. When I had my foot was messed up, I had to wear a tennis shoe to walk up the ladder because walking on the ball with my foot really hurt. So I had to carry a shoe and throw it down. And the camera guy kept getting so mad because I was trying to throw it back behind the platform, and he would get so mad because I would accidentally hit him, or it'd bounce off the wall and hit him. And I'm like, I'm so sorry. So he told me to throw it to a certain side. So I started doing that. And of course, the next time I go to throw it exactly where he tells me, he walks out from right underneath, and I just popped him right on the head. I was like, oh my goodness, I'm so sorry.
That's hilarious. Laura Wilkinson is our guest on the Fuzzy Mic. 2000 Olympic gold medalist. How would judges score the triple Lindy in Olympic competition?
Well, we have to install an additional springboard for that and make sure the wind is just right. But I mean, I think he could definitely get upwards of that excellent 8 to 10 range for sure, especially with his degree of difficulty. I mean, that's through the roof. So yeah.
How many people ask you that?
I've never asked how he's been judged, so you are a first on that one.
Wonderful. What is the hardest dive for you?
Well, currently, I guess I do a back 3.5 tuck and reverse 3.5 tuck. But back in 2008, I had actually done even harder dives. I did a back 3.5 somersault pike and a back 2.5 somersault with 2.5 twist pike. And so those are really big dives that not even all the guys do these days. So kind of cool.
Obviously, your equilibrium is good. You don't suffer vertigo or anything like that. But when you dive, are your eyes open or closed?
Open. You definitely want them open. I went through a time where I closed them. I do not recommend that because we have to pick up our visual cues, like what we call it spotting. So you have to see the water in every single somersault to know where you are in the air so that you place your feet at the right place to land on your head and not on your face or on your back or anything terrible like that. So definitely want to have your eyes open and see the water.
Now, I know on hopesports.org, one of the interviews that you did last year was with a friend of yours who has gone on to higher heights, and that is Red Bull cliff diving. Would you ever do something like that?
No, I will be their biggest fan. I am never, ever going to do that. No way. I don't even know if I would jump. I think jumping would be way more terrifying and it's harder to control. So I don't think I would do that. But I would love to go see one in person, though. I think that would be amazing. And I have a lot of friends that are doing it now. So I think it's absolutely crazy to watch and awesome. But yeah, I'm never going to try it.
So will Olympic qualifying be in June of 2021 because the games are shortly after that?
Yeah, it's not on the calendar yet, but I'm assuming they'll move it to a very similar date because that's kind of how we had spaced it out for this year. So I'm sure it'll look very similar to next year. Yeah.
For marathoners, they have like a peak training period. What is the peak training period for you?
Well, every sport has a different periodization. Like there's so many times a year you can peak, and diving definitely has that. It's a little different. You can probably peak like 3 times a year, really high quality, and so you kind of have to map out your schedule based on that. And right now it's hard because there's nothing on the calendar, so we're kind of having to wait until we get a calendar to plan that. that out.
Well, Laura Wilkinson, it is a serious treat to be speaking with you. Congratulations on everything you've accomplished. 19-time national champion, 3-time U.S. Olympian, 2000 gold medalist. I mean, you really are spectacular. And what you're proving now at the age of 42, mom of 4, going back and trying to get on the Olympic team and represent the country, man, we're all pulling for you.
Kevin, thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Laura Wilkinson, 2000 U.S. Olympic gold medalist. LauraWilkinson.com is where you can go to see all of what Laura's accomplished. You can also go to hopesports.org right now, which is where her podcast is. I highly recommend it. It's really cool. What she does is she interviews athletes in various realms and various sports and gets to the bottom of their training and gets into their visualization, their mentalization. It really is quite impressive to go and learn more about those awesome and one-of-a-kind athletes. My thanks to Laura for joining us on the Fuzzy Mic today. Also, thank you to Laura's publicist, Rob Bailey from Brandstand PR. The executive producer of the Fuzzy Mic is Trish Klein. Social media director, Lisa Tynan. Production elements, Zach Sheesh at theradiofarm.com. I'm your host, Kevin Klein. Please follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, and www.thefuzzymic.com. See you next time on The Fuzzy Mic.
Thanks for listening to this episode of The Fuzzy Mic with Kevin Klein. Check back often and stay fuzzy, friends. Fuzzy Mic is a presentation of the Kevin Klein Fuzzy Mic Industry, Incorporated, LLC.